Hello, welcome to Gamerging Summit. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Oscar Michael and I'm the co-founder of Africacomicade. And Africacomicade is basically a platform for African digital creatives in games, animation, comics, XR, and the movie industry, celebrating their works and connecting them to opportunities. This includes opportunities for learning, for collaboration, as well as for funding. And basically, we consider ourselves to be a community of communities because we try to connect all the stakeholders from across Africa so that they can share their works, so that we can create a stronger front for collaboration, for infrastructure, which is something that is very lacking in our industry. So you might ask, why the creative industry? Well, it's simple. When you look at the world globally, the global creative industry right now is booming. The games industry, as at last year, is worth more than the movie and music industry together. It's worth billions of dollars. And when you look at why this is happening, it's very simple. We have a growing youthful population, people that are looking out for different kind of content. They are more engaged with their phones, they're trying out new experiences, and most of these experiences are supplied by the digital creative industry. And so we started out Africacomicade to support our industry, because when you look at the African digital creative industry, there are a whole lot of issues facing it. Over the last decade, we've had lots of studios pop up in games, in animation, in comics, but then they've been struggling to stay sustainable, and this has been a very big issue. What you get to see is you see studios start out, and in the runway of 5 years, 3 to 5 years, lots of these studios close up because they're unable to stay sustainable and make revenue that can keep them running their operations. So we started out Africacomicade to see how we can bring people together to tackle this issue of sustainability in the industry, to tackle this issue of skills in the industry, because these are some of the things that are holding back the growth of the industry. When you look at Africa today, we have the fastest growing youthful population, and it's actually projected to be about 50% more of what we have today by 2050. Already today, tech has been a very, very important part in sustaining our economy. The tech industry has helped bring up lots of startups in various verticals: health, agriculture, finance, and so much more. And we can see the resulting impact it has had on the society. Africa today without tech would have been suffering from big, huge employment crisis. But we've been able, with the use of technology, to prove that there are opportunities within Africa and to also support the socio-economic development of the country. In fact, one might wonder and say, oh, are there talents in tech? But right now we're beginning to have the issue of brain drain, which is something that is really interesting. Organizations from across the globe are employing African youths and taking them off the continent whilst others are working remotely, because we've also been able to, over the years, prove that Africans have creative talents, whether digital or not, and they're able to express themselves and get jobs done with high quality standard. And this is exciting for us. However, we would be creating a huge imbalance if all of Africa's economy is focused on one aspect. And this is something that really needs to be looked at. Yes, we know lots of people, lots of youths are going into tech right now, and there are lots of opportunities for them. But beyond this, there's so much more opportunities lying in the creative industry, which is still very untapped. If you look globally, there is a huge consumption of content, and the creative industry in Africa has the possibility of addressing this demand. Look at our music industry of today. Afrobeat is global, and that is something that no one can argue. Look at our movie industry. Nollywood is on the top 3 biggest industry when it comes to movie production, and we can see the amount of opportunities it has created for Nigerian and African youths. So what this means right now is there are many more opportunities out there for us to explore that are not yet being looked at and really need lots of attention. And one thing we have come to realize is the potential of the creative industry. The global games industry employs thousands of people because games, for example, involve psychology, creative thinking, story writing, voice acting, development in terms of programmers, and so much more. And this is really something mind-blowing. Now imagine if we are able to build our own games industry, or our comics industry, or our XR industry, or our animation industry. Look at Disney today. Look at Marvel. There's so many wonderful institutions and organizations out there that are able to give impact back to the youth and the creative population. Look at Netflix. We know that there is a huge demand for content, and if we can lay down the infrastructure for these young creative minds, we can really build something that can solve a lot of our socioeconomic problems of today and build a better future for Africans to express themselves and tell their own story. And this is why we are looking at the creative industry. Because if we grow this sector, we'll be able to tackle unemployment, we'll be able to tackle misinformation, we'll be able to preserve our African cultural heritage, and so much more. And when you look at the economics and financial implications, it's really amazing, because then we'll be able to create internal revenue that can actually sustain various governments. And that's what Africacomicade is working on. We are looking from a Pan-African perspective because we realize that the problems faced in one sector of Africa is also similar to what is faced in other sectors. Right now, our reach is over 15 African countries, from Western Africa down to Eastern, Northern, and Southern Africa. And this is something really exciting. We speak with stakeholders there, we work with them, we connect them with opportunities, and we can already see the impact we're able to make. Getting game developers, game studios, animation studios, access to stakeholders from across the continent, from outside the continent, has been able to help people seal new relationships and get a lot of amazing stuff going. And this is really exciting for us. This is like a dream come true, because we know what we're building today within the next 5 years lay down a proper structure for our creative industry. So you might be wondering, what do we actually do when we say we support the industry? It's quite simple. We have a couple of programs and events that we run that bring stakeholders together and provide support for them. We have the E-Africa Challenge that gets creatives to look at social issues so that they can start out sustainable startups from this. Being in the creative industry doesn't have to do with only entertainment. Aside entertainment, these creative startups can go into education. These creative startups can create simulations and models and environments for people to also solve problems by themselves. And so the E-Africa Challenge is a program that exposes them to societal issues so that they can use their creativity in tackling this problem and thereby start out sustainable ventures that can employ more people, generate more revenue, while helping make the environment a better place. In the year 2020, we launched this. And in 2021, the first E-Africa Challenge tackled climate change, where about 30 creatives from all across Africa looked at climate change as a concept, as an issue being faced right now, went through a course by United Nations on the UNCC Learn platform to better get more information and understanding, and came up with games and creative projects that can educate people and inspire them to tackle this issue. And that was really, really amazing for us. When you look at the skills gap in the society, in our industry, we decided to launch the ARC initiative. We have the Spark Fellowship that gets enthusiasts in this industry and train them, empower them with these digital skills, after which we then take them further for internships and other exchange programs, internships, jobs within and outside the continent. And we're glad to have launched that this year, and we got about 70 applicants from across Africa willing to learn in games, animation, and extended reality. We also have the ARC initiative that empowers creative studios with entrepreneurial skill sets. We know that one thing that is lacking in our creative industry, In fact, in the entire startup space is that entrepreneurial mindset, that entrepreneurial prowess that can help people turn their ideas into sustainable business. So the Art Fellowship is for already existing studios that have projects ongoing, where we connect them, we train them on how to improve their business model, their pitch deck, their financial model, and then connect them with stakeholders, publishers who are willing to invest and give them feedback and help them grow their user base and audience. And this is not all what we do. We also have the Gamerging, and this is our flagship event. It brings together stakeholders from all across to come and see what African creatives are doing. It's a B2B2C platform where businesses in the creative industry can connect with other business stakeholders, and then they could also connect with their audience, the consumers of this product, showcasing what they have to do and also expressing to them what their intentions, their aim, their upcoming projects are all about. And that's really, really exciting. This last Gamerton, which just held in November, we were able to get about 400 stakeholders from all across join. Through Meet to Match, we had about 35 meetings booked, meaning creatives were able to fix meetings with important stakeholders and then find ways of sealing partnerships, getting collaborations and funding on board. And that was really exciting. We had attendance from EA, from Sony, from Steam, and so many other global organizations out there that support the industry. And this is what we do. It has been really, really exciting for us. Over the years, we've learned so much about this industry, connecting and discussing with various stakeholders. We know that there is a deep skills gap. We know that there is no infrastructure. We also know that there is no good amount of data to support the activities of this industry that can bring in investors and stakeholders. And these are the kind of things that we are really working together to see how we can tackle this issue and help support the growth of the industry. Our biggest achievement has been the ARC pitch. That has been something that has really blown our mind, because through that, people working on projects can have one-on-one meetings where they pitch the idea to a round table of publishers who would give them actionable feedback on their project, as well as work with them to see how they can get funding for their projects. Another win that has been exceptional for us has been the partnerships and support we've gotten from international organizations. We've worked with 2 Sony camps in onboarding African creatives so that they can actually show their works to industry stakeholders and get funding for their work. We've also worked with international curators like Isabella Vest and so many more in curating projects from Africa for showcase internationally. We've also helped people in recruitment, which is something we're really big on right now, both from our fellowship program and from the community. We're able to connect studios that are upcoming within and outside Africa with good talents within our landscape, so that we can create more opportunities for people in this industry who will believe in turn will be able to give back and support the growth of the industry. Africa, I would say, is very ripe for investment in the creative industry, and there is no better time than now. Already, when you look at the statistics available, there is an increase in adoption of technology. We have more people with access to internet and other forms of technologies, and this is really exciting. We have a very, very wonderful population of creative youths who are looking for creative ways of expressing themselves, who are looking for ways of making revenue. And when you look at the movie industry, when you look at the music industry, or even art in general and tech, you will come to see that yes, the African youths have potential. But if we don't start now, when would we start? Looking at games development, looking at comics, looking at extended reality, looking at animation. There's so much potential within each of this industry, especially with those who are just emerging. We can see the whole buzz around the blockchain technology, the metaverse, NFTs, and we can see how it's taking lots of creatives and creators out of poverty to empower them with resources to do much more. And we can be a part of this. to support our creative youth so that they too can go out there to create more and create not just content, but more opportunities for the next generation. If we don't do this right now, we risk having much more unemployment in our society. We risk losing our cultural identity because already a majority of the media we are faced with is from outside Africa. And if you look through the records, through history, you come to see that our youth are beginning to lose a grasp of our social identity as Africans. So there are so many benefits to investing in industry right now. But I must make it known that it's a long-term game. It's not something that can be kicked off with short-term returns. No, it's something that we have to build the industry because right now we lack the infrastructure to build any other thing on top. So what we will be working together to do is lay that foundations for people in this industry within Africa and outside Africa to come together and connect and grow something that will help us build a sustainable future for Africa. How can you be a part of this revolution? It's very simple. We have lots of stakeholders in the industry who have done a lot of the groundworks and have a very good understanding. So the first thing I would say would go with the sustainable goals number 17, which has to do with what? That has to do with partnerships. Meaningful partnerships that have a common goal to be able to build this. We have Gamerging Consulting, which has about 20 years plus experience when it comes to the creative industry. Africacomicade has also been networking with lots of communities there to understand their problem and to see how we can support them better. And there are many more organizations out there, one of which you can find in the industry report we are releasing this year that maps the ecosystem so that you can easily have access to the various stakeholders in the various countries and nations across Africa. There's also the need to make out physical spaces, maker spaces that can bring these creatives together to actually connect, have a uniform environment, more like a hub for them to try out their creative ideas. And then of course there's need for huge investments. When you look at the West, you come to realize that the reason why these creative industries are able to stand firm is because of support from stakeholders within their continent and nations. There are lots of prototype funds, grants, and investment opportunities out there that Africans don't have access to that. And this is one big way that the government and other stakeholders can really help support the growth of our industry. At Africacomicade, we are dedicated to building a creative future that is sustainable and viable for business. And we invite you all to work with us and every other stakeholder that is interested in growing this industry. Thanks so much to initiatives like Gamerging Summit. You can also have access to see much more of what is going on in the industry, as well as stakeholders that you can connect with. I would say the time to invest in Africa is now. This is the time to lay down that infrastructure. This is the time to reach out to those stakeholders struggling and back them up. Because there's a future in the creative industry, and Africa has a huge opportunity that is waiting to be tapped. Thank you.